Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. You can see here, we're back over at the Xbox 360 and we're going to have a little bit of fun because I'm going to be showing you all if you have a completely stock system, if you haven't messed around with it, much like this one right here. You can see I have a new account and everything on this. I'm going to be showing you all how you can set up your system easily with a USB drive to play imported games, which is something that a lot of people have wanted to do with their systems. Now the nice thing is this works on every single model of the Xbox 360. It doesn't matter what motherboard you have, it doesn't matter which revision of the system you have, as long as you can get your system running and on a certain dashboard and you have a USB drive, you should be in good hands. Now this is all thanks to using ABadAvatar, which does mean we are going to be running a temporary modification on the system. This doesn't actually modify the system itself, so really as long as you unplug the USB drive next time you boot up the system, it will be stock yet again. But there's just a few things to keep in mind, which I will talk about throughout the video here. Additionally, if you're looking for an all-encompassing bad update or ABadAvatar type tutorial and such, in which you can figure out how exactly to use your system and all that, I actually have a bad update guide, which bad update was the precursor to this and what ABadAvatar is based off of, but I have a full bad update guide, which not only shows initially how to set up the system, but it really goes into the granular of different homebrew, different settings, how to launch things, different installations, and a lot more. So if you're wanting something more granular, that video is available. It's over an hour long. This is just going to show how you can get a basic setup going and play some imported games, because there's been a lot of people who've wanted to do that. I'm loading up a disk right now into this system just to demonstrate, but the cool thing is the 360 is kind of half region free. What I mean is the system is region locked, but the region locking applies to every individual game itself, which you can see here. For example, I've loaded up Steins Gate, a game that I had imported recently. We can go ahead and fire it up. It looks like it's going to launch, but there we go, wrong region. This disk's region code is incorrect for this console. But you're going to see within a few minutes here, we will have this same console and this same game running Steins Gate successfully. And the nice thing is with that as well too, if you're really wanting to check out some imports on your system and really check out the import library on here, you no longer have to import a system and you don't have to go to an Xbox One or an Xbox Series. So this way you can really play all Xbox 360 games regardless of the region on your own system. I'll go ahead and pop out the disk for now, but there's going to be a few things they are going to need to get sorted. First of all, of course, you are going to need your Xbox 360 up and running and working, and you're also going to need to put this on specifically dashboard 17559. If you want to check which dashboard you're on, you can go over to Settings, System, Console Settings, go over to System Info, and it will show your dashboard revision right there. This one is already on 17559, but if you need to update your system or you need to install avatar data, I'm going to show you all how to do that. If you're a little bit confused by it, it's going to be an installation which goes on a hard drive. So for this, since we're using ABadAvatar, you're also going to need an internal hard drive on your system. Even though this isn't the only option, this would be the most recommended option. So make sure you have an Xbox 360 certified drive, or you can make your own. I do have guides showing how to make your own SSD, which will work on the Xbox 360. Additionally, you're also going to need some way to download, extract, and copy files over to a USB drive. I'm personally going to be using a computer for this. It doesn't really matter what device or operating system you use as long as you can follow all the instructions. And lastly, you're also going to need a USB drive of some kind. Make sure it's like at least a few gigabytes, like at least a 4 or an 8 gigabyte drive would be fine in case you want to install games on there. With all that said, let's go ahead and get the update process going in case you need to install the latest update or avatar data or even both. In order to do this, we can actually just take our USB drive and plug it directly into the Xbox 360. Once you do that, go over to Settings, go to System, go to Storage, and you'll see your USB drive storage right here. If it's showing up like this, awesome, but if you need to set it up, you can press either the A button if it hasn't been initialized or press the Y button, and you can go over to Format. Now keep in mind this is going to erase any data you might care about from the USB drive. So as long as you're okay with that, go ahead and say yes and let it format. Now with that done, we can go ahead and disconnect our USB drive And from here, we can go ahead and take it over to our device. I'm going to use my computer in this example. Now what we can download for this is going to be the 17559 dashboard. You can just scroll over here and download this from the Digix thread. Once it's downloaded, make sure USB drive is plugged in, and it should hopefully be empty like this one right here. Now with some older dashboards, depending on your system, if you're updating it, this drive here might already be full. And if it is, what you'll need to do is right click your drive, click on format, and then you're going to need to format it to FAT32. Default allocation size is fine, quick format is fine. You can go and hit start and hit OK. And there we go. Once that's all done here, you're going to want to get your system update zip file, and we're going to right click this, use something like 7-zip to extract it into its own directory. Now that it's been extracted, go ahead and open up the directory, and there's going to be another directory in there, which is cache system update. We're going to right click, copy this out. Now go to your USB drive, right click and paste. And it should be the only thing in your USB drive. And there we go, that's really all we need in the drive. As long as you have that there, we can exit out, right click, eject your drive, and take it back over to the console. From here, while your system is running, go ahead and plug in your USB drive. And if you get an update prompt like this, you're going to want to go ahead and say yes. If it needs to update your dashboard kernel itself, it's going to apply the update and then reboot. And once it reboots, it's then going to come to this screen in which it's going to extract out the avatar data to your internal hard drive. Otherwise, if your dashboard doesn't need updating, but you just need the avatar data, it's still going to do the same process. And lastly, if your system doesn't do anything, congratulations, you already have the latest update and avatar data. I could tell on my system here because my system was not only 17559, but my avatar is showing up. So if your avatar is showing up there, congratulations, you're up to date and you're in a good spot to run ABadAvatar. So before we get our download set up, whether you've updated your system, installed avatar data, or you've skipped ahead to this point here, we do need to make sure our USB drive is set up properly. In order to do so, again, you'll need to be on the 17559 dashboard, make sure you have a USB drive plugged into your system, go to your settings, system settings, go to storage, make sure any data that you care about has been backed up, and as long as it has been backed up, we can go to our USB drive with the Y button, or even the A button if this is not showing up as usable, and then go over to format, say yes, and wait a few seconds for your drive to format. After that's done, just like before, we can go ahead, disconnect our USB drive, and now we can take it over to our device where we're going to download everything. Again, that's going to be my computer. Now there's going to be 2 or 3 downloads we're going to need. I'm going to get into that with the last one here, but the 2 that we absolutely need is first going to be ABadAvatar. This does have a short README, which I would recommend reviewing here just so you understand it, but once you understand the README here, you can go over to the releases section on the side, and you're going to find the latest download for ABadAvatar. Go ahead, open up the assets, and download the latest build available. The next thing we're going to need here is XeUnshackle, and this here is going to be needed because this is going to be the payload which is going to give us a lot of the freedom unlocking patches we want to accomplish what we're needing to on the system itself. Now in order to download this here, again, I would recommend giving the README a good once over, and then once you've read and understood that, scroll up here, go over to releases, and download the latest build of XeUnshackle. Lastly, at least for the Xbox 360 here, this download is optional, but it is going to be recommended. This is going to be the custom dashboard Aurora, and I would recommend downloading this because in short, without this, you could play your imported games directly from disk, but these days here, I really don't recommend doing that, especially with how old Xbox 360 drives are getting. So if you want to save your drive and also have a better experience installing the games themselves, you're going to need a custom dashboard such as Aurora. Finally, if you're having any trouble extracting any of the archives that we've downloaded, I'd recommend downloading and installing 7-zip. It's free, easy enough to use, and it will get the job done for what we need. Now, once these have all been downloaded, make sure your USB drive is plugged in, and let's get to copying everything over. The first thing you'll need is ABadAvatar, so you can right-click this and extract it into its own directory. Open up the ABadAvatar folder, and you're going to have 2 folders in here, Bad Update Payload and Content. Go ahead, copy both of these out, go to your USB drive, and paste them into the root here. There might already be a hidden content folder here, and if you don't see it, at least on Windows, you can click on View, Show, hidden items. But when you do that copy, if you get any prompts to merge into a directory, you're going to want to say yes. The next thing we're going to need is XeUnshackle, so go ahead, right click this zip and extract it into its own folder. You can now open up XeUnshackle, and we're going to highlight everything here except for the README, even though that is important, but we're not going to copy that over. Go ahead and grab the rest of these. We're going to copy these out, and we're going to paste them into the root of the USB drive. Yet again, if it asks you to merge folders or anything, you're going to want to say yes. Lastly, we're going to need Aurora. For this, we can go ahead, right click this and use 7-zip to extract it into its own directory. It will give you a longer name here, so I'd recommend right clicking, renaming this, and just shorten this to Aurora, just like that. Now to set this up on the USB drive, there's going to be a couple more steps. What we should do is on the USB drive, right click and make a new folder. We're going to call this Applications. And inside the Applications folder, you can then copy and paste your Aurora folder. And there we go, that's all been set up. Now the last thing we need to do here is we need to exit out to the root of the USB drive, and we need to open this launch.ini file. It's going to look like this, and it might be a little bit confusing, but there's only one thing that we need to update here. We're going to scroll down and look for where it says default. And we need to set this up exactly as written here. I will warn you all, this is an incredibly easy step here, but this is also a step that so many people mess up. So this is exactly how you're going to want to type it out. You're going to want to type in USB:/ the folder will be applications/Aurora/Aurora.xex. And that is the exact path for the default executable we're going to set. You want to make sure the format here is similar to this, and you want to make sure your files are within that structure. You can see right here, I have it in Applications, Aurora, and Aurora.xex. That's exactly what we need. I'm stressing this here because even though this line is really easy to edit, this here is the one step that so many people mess up. Now, once this has been written properly, click on File, Save, and close out of this. And at this point, you're done. So we can go back out here, right click, eject our USB drive, and take it over to our console. Now that we're back over at the system, before we launch ABadAvatar, if you haven't done this before, there's a few things to keep in mind. First of all, like I said, you can still get your system or account or even both banned on here, so it would be recommended if you're going to be using this to go ahead and disconnect from the internet before bad update or ABadAvatar is running, and then once it is running, you can get back online. The easiest way of doing this is if we come over to System and Network. If you're using a wired network like me, you can just disconnect and reconnect your system to the network. However, if you're using a wireless network, it would be recommended to forget your Wi-Fi network, and then once you have ABadAvatar up and running, you can go in and connect to your Wi-Fi network. Just keep in mind it is going to fail out, but as long as you have the proper credentials, you should be okay. Outside of that, if you also do want this to launch on boot, because that's pretty nice to just turn on the system and have it running there, you are going to need to disable automatic sign-in. So if you have any profiles, I do have one profile on here, but if you have a profile that automatically signs in, bring up your guide, go over to Profile, go over to Sign In Preferences, and make sure Profile Auto Sign In is off. Once that's off, we are good to go. So now to show you all how this works, what we can do is completely turn off our system, and once it's turned off, plug in your USB drive and turn it back on. Now go ahead, turn on the system here, make sure the USB drive is plugged in, and keep in mind this is not a persistent modification, and it really only exists on the USB drive. So this is not permanent, and every time you want to run the mod, you will have to boot up your system like this. But as you can see, we have that prompt right there. We have ABadAvatar as an account, even though we're not going to touch the account. And all we have to do is wait. Do keep in mind, if you look at the front of your system, you're going to see that the LEDs are going to be having some activity and they might go a little crazy. That is expected. And if you have a fat system and your LEDs are red, that is also expected. No need to panic. That is not a red ring of death. But at this point here, you really just have to sit here and wait. Now this could take anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes, but generally the rule of thumb is this shouldn't take longer than, I would say, 20 minutes maximum. That's what the limitation used to be. If you're sitting here for longer than 10 or 20 minutes, just turn off the system, turn it back on, and try again. Additionally, if you want to see if this has been frozen or not, you can move your controller around, and if you can move things around, don't worry, everything is working, you just need to be patient and wait. So if you're wondering why it's not working or why it's frozen, it probably is working. I doubt it's frozen, and look at that, we got this here. The first time you run this, you're going to get that notification telling you the original MAC address has been dumped, and every time you boot this up, you're going to get that chain animation there. Now you should be at this page here, and for this specific system, go ahead and tap the X button or Y button here to save your first bootloader. And once that's done, go ahead and save info to file. That's just going to be, well, your console info right there, just to have on hand. And once that's all completed, to make sure that you actually did this properly, go ahead and press the back button on your controller to exit, and wait a bit. So congratulations, if you see this screen, you've done everything properly, you ended up typing in that path properly, your patches have been applied, and now it's just going to do a backup of the title updates to your USB drive. So again, congratulations, you're in a really good spot at this point. If you do not have Aurora and this just launches to the standard dashboard, that means that you did not type in your path properly. So you're going to have to plug your USB drive into your computer, go to the launch.ini, and then edit that path to make sure it is proper. Either way, depending on how much content you have, you might wait a few seconds or you might have to wait a few minutes at this screen, but this initial title update backup is only the first time you launch Aurora. Oh yeah, and if you want to, at this point, you can now connect your system to the internet. You're not going to get onto Xbox Live, that's going to be blocked while this is running, but you will be able to get online to access Aurora services, Aurora scripts, even update your time and date on your system, and just be able to be on your network in case you want to transfer anything. Now here we go. Once Aurora has been initialized, there's a few things you can do to get this all set up here. First of all, like I said, if you want to get on your network, you can see I can bring this up, and now I have an updated time on this system. But let's also go ahead and get a few things sorted out here. First of all, within these settings, if you press the start button, you can go over to profile, and you can actually select a profile to sign into Aurora, not your system itself. I'm going to pick auto sign in, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to automatically sign into my Mario account, just to have that on hand. The next thing I'd recommend doing is going over to content, go over to manage paths, hit add, and hit change right here. Now what we're going to do is add any content we have on the system itself into Aurora. To do that, go over to HDD1, within here, look for the content folder and enter that. Then highlight the zeros folder and tap the Y button. For this, change your scan depth to 3, go down here and hit save. It's now going to scan your internal drive for any content that's already installed on there, and if you're connected to the internet, it will also download the cover art for everything as a nice bonus. So yet again, depending on how much content you have, this might take a bit of time, so just go ahead, sit back, and wait while it scans. Alright, so with this all finally set up here and looking a little bit better, yet again, this is the custom dashboard Aurora if you choose to install this. Otherwise, you just be using the standard dashboard, and you're going to see why in a few minutes here I've recommended doing this. Now, if you want to play one of your import titles, it's pretty simple, and this is the fun part. You've gotten all the hard stuff done, but now you just need to pop in your disk and let it populate. You can see that my Steins Gate already shows up on here, but I'm waiting a few more seconds just because, well, I want all that nice cover art to show up, and it shows up beautifully on here. So now with everything sorted, what else is there to do? Well, go ahead, play your game. You can go ahead, highlight it, launch it with the A button, and wait a few moments. And you can see right here, we're at the first splash. We got this. Yep. Cryware. And you can see that the game is launching successfully. So congratulations, we're actually able to launch this. Now, if you ever want to access the original dashboard, or if you're just playing games from there, check this out. You can bring up the guide, go over to settings, system settings, say yes. And once it exits out here, go ahead, exit out. And check it out, the disk is showing up. But unlike before, since we have the patches applied, check it out from the original dashboard, we can also just highlight launch our game, wait a few seconds. And here we go, the same thing as before. You see, I did not have to restart the system, didn't have to do anything else, but because we have those patches applied and in memory, we are in a good spot where we can actually play our imported titles and they're launching successfully. Now for our last trick here, there is a big reason why I recommended using Aurora. And, well, I'll go ahead and show you. If you're running your disk right now, you can probably hear that really loud Xbox 360 disk drive, so if you want to install it, well, I'll show you how that goes. If you go over to your system settings, check this out. We're going to go into the stock dashboard, but unfortunately, even though this is an imported title and we can play it, this is something I've noticed with my imports in general. If you try and install it through the stock dashboard itself, you can play the game from disk, but you cannot install the game. However, we can now install the game to our system. Although we still need to go through the process of running ABadAvatar to play the games, we can install them to the system or to the USB drive, and that way we can eliminate needing the disk every single time. In order to do that, well, I'll show you exactly what to do. Bring up your guide, and press the Y button to bring up Aurora. It might take a few seconds depending on the speed of your drive here, but eventually, there we go, Aurora will pop back up. And now that we're back here in nice, maybe unfamiliar territory here, I'll show you how you can install one of these games. In order to do this at least quick and dirty here, we can really just rip the files directly from the disk itself. In order to do that, you can press the back button while you're in Aurora and go to the File Manager. Now go over to the DVD section right here, make sure your disk is inserted of course, and load in. The only folder we don't need here is going to be the cache system update folder, but you can scroll down one. Now tap and hold down the X button on your controller and scroll all the way down to the bottom. That way you'll highlight every single folder and file for your game. Navigate to the left, go down to the copy option and tap the A button. Now tap the right bumper to go back to your system, and from here you can choose where you want to install this to. If you want to install these games to your internal drive, you can do that on HDD1, or if you want to install them on your USB drive, you can do so as well. Now there's not really a wrong location to install these here, but I'll say this, if you have a slower USB drive, you might want to put them on the hard drive here. You will get the best speed out of this and best performance if the games are installed internally. Otherwise, if you have a good USB drive, a good maybe portable hard drive or SSD installed here, or if you just want to have your games portably on that USB drive, you can also install them to the USB drive. Regardless where you decide to install them, go ahead and pick your storage device. I'm going to use HDD1 for this, and I'd recommend making a new folder and just call it Games. Once that's named, you can go ahead, finish that, and now go into the Games folder and create a new folder for your specific game. So there we go, we have the Steins Gate folder. Navigate into your game folder. Now navigate to the left, go down to Paste, say yes, and this will take a few minutes here depending on your game and how many files and the size of it. All you need to do is put your controller down and wait for the file copy to finish up. So once it's done, it will just X out the file copy, and from there you can press the back button on your controller, press the back button yet again, and we should still be at this same screen here, but we're going to do something a little bit differently. Now that this game is installed, go ahead, eject your disk. There we go, it's been removed, and from here we need to add a new path. So since we created that new folder, go ahead and press the start button on your controller, go down to content, go down to add under manage paths, go to change, and from here pick whichever drive you installed your game or games onto. I'm going to pick HDD1. Once you're here, highlight the games directory and tap the Y button, and if you set it up as I showed you all, you should just change this to 2, go to save, and now X'd out of here and give it some time to scan. You can see it's already downloading some items. It's also green instead of red, but check this out, we do have Steins Gate showing up right here. Well, let me wait a few more seconds. And here we go, that has now been populated. It's showing up like our other games on here, and you could also see it with the added benefit. If I bring up the guide, there is no disk in the drive. So if you want to actually play this game here, you can now just launch it, wait a few seconds, and the nice thing is you don't hear the disk drive spinning up anymore, but there we go. It even loads up a little faster as well too. So that is how you can actually install your import games on your system. Now we do have Steins Gate up and running successfully here, so I'll go ahead and quit back out to Aurora so we can get back to our custom dash. And there we go, that's about all there is to it. So you can now successfully play your imported games on your Xbox 360, but on top of that, you can now even install them, which you were not able to do before, and you also have a few cool mods up and running, such as Aurora here with the custom dashboard. So congratulations, you've kind of also temporarily modded your 360 in the process. Now, do keep in mind here, if you're at the end and you're wondering, okay, what do I do if I turn off my system? Well, I'll show you all real quick. If we turn off our system, Let's go ahead and do that. Now keep in mind, we have not technically modded our system itself. The system itself is still completely stock. We haven't installed anything directly to it that would change the way it boots up here, but this is really all from that USB drive. So as long as you don't have auto sign-in enabled and you have your USB drive plugged in on launch, you're going to get something like this. It'll bring you to the sign-in page, you'll get that notification, your LEDs are going to do some crazy things, and you just need to wait a few seconds or a few minutes for this all to kick in. Additionally, if you just want to use your system like a completely stock system, all you need to do is when you turn off your Xbox 360, unplug that USB drive and then turn the system back on. And as long as you're booting up the system without that USB drive inserted, it's going to work and operate like a completely stock Xbox 360. And just like before, every time you launch it, you're going to come to this XeUnshackle screen, and once you're all ready to go, just press the back button on your controller, wait a little bit, and Aurora should pop up here momentarily. Here we go, we got Aurora, and check this out, just like before. We have all of our games here, and since we're able to install Steins Gate and now we can access it through Aurora, we can still play this without the disc. I'll go ahead, load this up here, and it should give us the same result as before. So with all that said, again, congratulations, you've been able to get this far. You've been able to technically mod your Xbox 360 but not have it be persistent here. But as long as you have that USB drive on deck, you got the keys to the kingdom here, and you can have some fun playing your imports while also keeping them safe on your shelf after you install them. Either way, that is about it for this video here. This is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated, and if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too.